Sitting here again talking about the same things.
I have a special gift to start out today's FBS report for the Auburn fans. Look, it's your favorite REFBALL noodle because another flag just got thrown on y'all again. Good day, everybody. Hold on. Got to get things situated here. By the way, that's my cat, Scooter, right up here. Say hello, Scooter. Come here. I'm putting you on the big stage, whether you like it or not. Say hello. He really does not want to be here. Okay. Yeah, he can just chill out over there. Anyway, everybody, welcome to the FBS Report, another edition of well, some spectacular. Yeah, speaking of fucking bullshit. Yeah, there you go, buddy. You gotta go. He's chewing on my cords, and that's obviously not allowed. That gummit, Scooter. Okay, yeah. Wouldn't it be a live stream with a Squidtard or Red without some technical issues? Speaking of issues, of course, most of you already know, especially since this is on Red's channel. But as I did a couple of months ago when we first started this show, he has to take off a week. A stomach bug has unfortunately hit him, and he's trying to recover from that. So for the time being, I will be taking over this show. Red, if you're watching, which I imagine you are, I am praying for a quick recovery for you, buddy. I know you work just as hard as I do when it comes to making this content. In fact, I'd say you probably work harder than I do because you've got more responsibility. So, yeah, all I can say to you, buddy, is I wish you the best of luck. Hope things pan out well for you, and I hope you recover quickly. To those of you, the Squidtard people who are waiting on my live stream on Saturday, I do apologize for missing out on that. Had a lot of personal issues come up, a lot of things that needed to be fixed on my end. And things seem to be running much better for me at the current moment. I can't describe to you how it was just some personal issues. That's all there was to it. But we're back. We're running. Let's talk some football, shall we? Because we've got a lot of FBS to talk about. Now, if this is your first time being here, I want to make it known to you. FBS does not stand for what you think it does. FBS stands for something far different, and you're going to find all of that out in just a minute, because let me tell you something, there was a lot of FBS to go over this week. A lot of winners, a lot of big-time losers, including my bowels as I had to start this show 5 minutes later due to Chick-fil-A, by the way. Yep. Say hello to, I guess, the third co-host, because this appears in every other thing that I do, Chick-fil-A milkshake. Appreciate all you guys for being here. I know some of you are upset about Red not being here, but hopefully he'll be back next week. And I earned this, okay? Because he did a show on his own too, even though I accidentally, during episode 2, I accidentally cut it off early because I'm an idiot and don't know how to work technology. But I feel like I deserve this. Anyway. Anyway, we got some super chats already. Justin Ziegler, appreciate the 2, buddy, says James Franklin and Penn State Clown of the Year. They've certainly made a case. I'm going to say that much, and we're actually going to start out with that before anything. what an account name for this is a phenomenal account name right here. I expect this to get clipped. Mommy Gooner 6969, appreciate the $5 super chat, says get well soon, Red. Telling the facts like they are. I also hope Red gets recovery sooner than later. Now, I'm going to start out with this because this is something that we always have to do. And if you've been keeping track of the coaching search, you already know what it is. But we had some heads roll over this last week, and I feel like it's better off to start with that over anything else. Now, I'm going to start out with our first group of 5, or group of 6, technically. G6 head coach, which unfortunately bit the dust, and that was, I think his name was, Trent Pilfer? I think that's what his name was. I might be thinking of somebody else, but the head coach of the UAB Blazers. Yes, unfortunately, he did indeed. Trent Dilfer, not Pilfer. I don't know why I thought it was Trent Pilfer. My bad, guys. But Trent Dilfer, the head coach of UAB, unfortunately has been canned from the Blazers program. But to be honest, it was a given. UAB was an absolute mess this year. There was no doubt about that. They were playing like their program had already been canceled. Now, I will say what surprises me, and I guess this is, to me, the only shock, is that they do it this early in the year. I know they're 2-4 right now. They're 0-3 in the American. But I am very stunned that this happened as early as it did, because I would have expected a bigger leash. But then again, things have not been panning out for them. They're still winless in the conference, 2-4. Pretty much any expectations they had are completely dashed. So granted, I kind of expected this to happen. And their most recent loss was, of course, a beatdown to Florida Atlantic. They lost by 20, and FAU put up 53 points on them. 53, including a 21-0 dashing in the first quarter. So, no, not exactly that surprised when you're letting up 500 yards a game. I guess heads have to roll. So, yeah, no surprise there. Maybe that can be the next location of our next head that rolled over this week. And it was actually the first one, but it's not the most. This is going to sound sad to Oregon State fans, but it's not the most important, because Oregon State is an absolute dumpster fire this year. Now, I did expect this one to happen. Oregon State has fired Trent Bray, and for good reason. First of all, Oregon State right now is the only one in the FBS right now that has been eliminated from bowl contention 100% for sure. They're 0-7. 0-7. You want to let me tell you something. You know how bad you gotta be in order to be 0-7. And this Oregon State team isn't exactly they're not a Power 5 team. They're not a Power 4 team, but they play they've played a tough schedule. Granted, they had to play Texas Tech, Oregon, Appalachian State on the road. Ooh, Appalachian State on the road. That's a real tough game. They had to play Cal early on in the year. So they've had to play some power competition, but I mean, you played Fresno State, you played, again, Appalachian State. You got, there were several games that were very, very winnable. And had they won that Houston game, I think the leash would have been a lot bigger for Trent Bray. But remember, the fact of the matter is he's lost the locker room. He's lost the entire team. They're winless, and they're winless throughout the entire season right now. 0-7, completely eliminated from bowl contention. And that's saying something, because again, they got eliminated from a bowl. And the only reason UMass isn't with them is because UMass had a bye week. But Oregon State, unfortunately, did not receive such pleasures. So tough break for Trent Bray. I don't know where he's going to go. Probably, if I'd imagine, he's going to become a coordinator at some Power 4 school, or he might actually take the UAB job. But as bad, I mean, this was bad. This was really, really bad for Oregon State overall. So, I mean, it was just an awful performance. I'm going to talk about it in more depth, that Wake Forest game, because Wake Forest brutalized them just as everyone basically brutalized Oregon State. But another tough loss for the Beavers, and now they're going to have to start from scratch, basically build up anew. And I'll tell you what, the odds of them coming back to the Power 4 look less and less likely as the weeks progress, don't they? Because, man, they aren't even playing a Pac-12 schedule, and they still can't win a game. Yeah, that's tough. That's brutal. Just wait until you have to realize you still have to play Pac-12 competition. Oh, boy, they might be stuck in that gutter for a very long time, potentially eternally. they might be in that dumpster for a very long time. Sorry to the Oregon State fans. On the bright side, the rest of the OSUs, with the exception of Ohio State, are right there with you. Talking to you, Stillwater, man. Yeah, tough break for you there. All right, well, let's talk about the big one. First off, RenGab248 with the $5 super chat. Much appreciated, man. Says, yesterday was Bloody Sunday for obvious reasons. Get well soon, Red. Yeah, absolutely agree with that last part. And yeah, no, it was a Bloody Sunday. A lot of heads rolled. And the biggest one, for obvious reasons, is our boy, big game James Franklin. And now at this point, he's pretty much just game James Franklin, because turns out it's not even just he can't win the big games anymore. He just can't win games. So yeah, it was time. I think everybody expected that. What I don't understand is that a lot of the same people who were, ragging on Penn State, ragging on James Franklin for, oh my God, he can't win a big game. He sucks. He can't win a big game. Are now ragging on Penn State for firing him because it's like, oh, we gave you the best moments of your program. Well, look at what it is now. It's an absolute disaster, because let's be real. Penn State they were like Ohio State, Notre Dame, these teams that went into this year, especially Penn State, because they were a lot like Clemson. Penn State was a team that they were projected by most of the media to win the national championship, not just make it there, not get the playoffs. They were projected to win the entire damn thing. And the fact that everything has happened as it has, you start out 3-0, you get beat in overtime at home against Oregon. Like, all that did was boost the narrative again, which, who cares? Like, the narrative continues about James Franklin not winning a big game. He's still, got the potential to move things forward. And then you get beat by winless Nico. 0-4 Nico. You get beat on the road against UCLA, a UCLA team without their head coach, and their interim head coach is a freaking femboy, or their offensive coordinator. And you got beat down on the big stage by a femboy. So great job. And then you come back home with a half-dead crowd. Penn State Stadium in that Northwestern game, literally, it looked like North Carolina. North Carolina, their fans don't care anymore. They were leaving in droves against Clemson by the half. And that's what it looked like. It looks like the fans have already left the stadium, and the ones that stayed were there to simply just boo James Franklin for daring to lose to a winless UCLA. But then he gives you the biggest gift of all, because if you think losing that game was bad, guess what? Now you come back home and you piss out down your leg again and lose to Northwestern. And not only did you lose to Northwestern, not only did you pretty much piss away any opportunity of coming back, there was the smallest smidget of a chance, because here's the thing. You lose to UCLA like you do, the only way you're able to undo that is by dominating the rest of your competition. So not only did you come up short of dominating your competition, you outright lost to them. Northwestern. Preston Stone is their quarterback, by the way. I just want to let you know. He was one of the worst performing quarterbacks in the country heading into this game, and he didn't look bad. He did not look bad. I guess I'll start out by saying that. He didn't look terrible, and I guess courtesy to Penn State's defense for allowing that to happen. Yeah, here's your stats for you. And probably the worst part about this for Penn State fans is, obviously, the season's over. It's been over. It was over the moment you got beat down by Nico. That was you were never going to recover from that. But now any hope of retribution in the form of Drew Aller doing anything has gone as well, because, season-ending injury. And yeah, season-ending injury for Drew Aller. He's not coming back for the rest of the year. Don't really know what they're going to do now. But then again, every single Penn State quarterback under James Franklin was just a carbon copy of Sean Clifford. It was Sean Clifford 1, Sean Clifford 2, Sean Clifford 3, Sean Clifford 4, Clifford 5. It's just an endless cycle repeating constantly. So when I say I'm not necessarily surprised by what happened, I mean it. I'm not shocked at all. So tis SMH. You guys gave it to you put up a fight. I'll give you that. You put up a fight. But now I'm treating you the same way as I was treating Texas and these other teams that had such these high like Clemson. Clemson's another one. Clemson, Texas, Florida, South Carolina. You're right there with them now, Penn State. You guys, it's not even that you're short of expectations or you're having an off year or your talent isn't showing up. You're just bad. You're just bad. And it's not even that you're bad. You're outright terrible. You're an outright freaking dumpster fire. You are an absolute dumpster fire. I mean, that's like, you're bad. You are. You're terrible. And I think you already know that because you went through and fired James Franklin. If you're going to fire a head coach that's been around for that long, I think you obviously know where you stand. Now, I will say, with this happening, with this firing happening of James Franklin, it is definitely set up what I think is going to be a very, very interesting coaching search and a incredible to watch coaching carousel. Now, if you're Nebraska fans, it's not so fun for you because right now Matt Rule is at the very top of the list of coaches, which Penn State could potentially be looking for. So if you're a Nebraska fan, you're probably shivering in your boots right now because Matt Rule has given you the most success that you've had in a very long time. So you're kind of you're kind of sitting there pooping in your pants a bit. And I'm sure that goes for a lot of teams. I'm sure Indiana fans are sort of feeling that same way too, even though Kirk Cignetti has said and mentioned that he's an Indiana man. He's with the program, but you never know that because Lincoln Riley said that exact same thing before he bailed out to USC over Oklahoma. So you can only trust a coach's words so much. And I guess putting that trust is something that's completely up to your jurisdiction is all I can say to that. Yeah. So Penn State, tough luck there. You might get lucky. You might be eliminated from bowl contention, so that way you don't have to see whichever team you field out for a 13th game. If it were me, I would rather just lose out the rest of the season, so that way that can be it, and we don't have to witness this for a 13th game. That would be me. That, and just in my humble opinion. Ron Gav 248, appreciate the $20 super chat, man. Thank you very, very much. Says, as someone who has seen UMass field a good football team, my alma mater beat them for the Natty in '78. Wow, that's a long time. That's before Notre Dame's last national championship. The issue is clear. They need to go back to the FCS. The money in FBS is not worth it, and the program can't do this forever. No, they're an absolute mess for sure. Agent Charles with the 5, much appreciated, man, says Penn State are the runner-ups for clown of the season for sure. I'd go as far to say right now they're the clear front runner. It was originally Clemson for clown of the season, but I think Penn State's as close to that as you can get. I think Penn State right now is your front runner. Now, however that stands going into the future, I don't know. I guess we're liable to find out. But for now, Penn State's the front runner of that special clown of the season award. So yeah, that's those are the heads that have rolled so far. Nothing today. I know some coaches usually, like some programs, they like to wait until Monday, but that did not happen. That did not happen with any coaches today. So those are the 3 that have rolled this week. I'm sure there will be more down the line. And probably the craziest part about all this is that somehow, some way, James Franklin got fired before Billy Napier. How is it that Billy outlasted James Franklin? Isn't that just insane to think about? They might keep him at this point. I don't know. That Texas win's probably going to give them a hell of a lot of leverage. So tough break there. Very, very tough break. All right, we got some games to go through, so let's go through them. I'm going to try and keep today's show a little shorter today since obviously Red's not here to give his 2 cents. And we'll pick it back up next week. But yeah, we got some games to talk about, and I'm going to start out with the Friday night game because again we had some really entertaining games. So I guess we'll start out with the first one. And this one had obvious playoff implications. And while it was fun for a while with North Texas and the Mean Green and the agenda that we had with them, guess what? Well, unfortunately, it's fallen right through. South Florida put the whooping on them on the road, 63-36. And not only did they put the whooping on them, this was North Texas. They had like over 30,000 people in attendance. This was, I think, yeah, they had the most attendance out of anybody in program history, any other performance. This was their biggest game in program history. And, well, not only did they come up short, they got absolutely obliterated. Now, they did make it a really good game. That first half made it look really, really fun and entertaining. But then the wheels just came off in the second half. South Florida put up 28 points, and then they put up 14 more, 163-36. Byron Brown went off. He had a really good performance. Messmaker, he certainly made a mess. I'll say that much. As the name would suggest, that second half, he played absolutely terrible in that second half. Same goes for the defense. The defense let up a crap ton of points. And we already knew that was kind of expected to happen. This was going to be a shootout because, well, North Texas has shown obvious flaws in their defense. I mean, if you let Army figure out how to score a bunch of points on you, then you've got some very obvious problems on the defense. And that showed in this game. They put up, a lot. Some of these points are put up through defensive touchdowns. So it isn't like they put up 63 points, but even if you remove the turnovers, it was more than enough for South Florida to take care of business. They go out, they win the game. And South Florida, I think at this point, while not necessarily being your front runner because they have a loss, they're probably the best team from the G5 currently. Shout out to Alex Golish, my man, Alex Golish. Scary young man Connor, appreciate the 2, says extend Billy Napier and extend Mark Stoops. Billy Napier, Mark Stoops. Yeah, no, I'm in full support of that movement. I'll tell you that. Kevin with the 5 says, how you doing, Squid? Honestly, looking forward to Bama, Tennessee because I'm an Auburn fan. I just want to feel something. I can't blame you. Get well soon, Red. Yeah, absolutely. Right there with you on that. So anyway, South Florida beats down North Texas. Pretty much, it was a competitive game in the first half. Fell apart in the second. North Texas probably out of playoff contention because of that, and there ain't much you can do about it. Here's Red. YouTube star my ass. Yeah, I'm taking good care of the YouTube star. Don't you guys worry. YouTube star my ass. Fanta, good to see you, buddy. I'm doing all right, man. I'm doing all right. All right. Well, yeah, that's that game for you. And I'm going to do my shout outs, of course, so don't you worry about that. But I am going to cover what I thought were the most, entertaining, most fun results. And yeah, no, there's a lot to go over. I'll say that much. Speaking of going over, oh my goodness, guys, I think Indiana's good. I think they're good. I think we can sort of shatter any expectations, sort of shatter any narrative about them being overrated and not playing good teams. Not only did they play good teams now, his ass went on the road. And Kirk Cignetti put up the whooping of a lifetime on Oregon. Now it's a 10-point game, so it's not like they actually put up a whooping. But their defense, they played a really good game, held down Dante Moore, and they let up only 13 points. And that's a really good game. I mean, one of those was off of a defensive touchdown, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, no, it was a very, 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 very ugly performance for the Duckies. And I think at this point, that can just be attributed to Indiana being good. Fernando Mendoza had a great game, 1 touchdown, 1 reception, but he had 215 yards, 31 rushing yards. Elijah Sarr went off with 121 receiving yards and a touchdown. It is a great day for the Indiana offense. I guess I'll say that. It wasn't the best day, but it was more than enough to get the job done. And I think this pretty much confirms, again, all the narratives around Indiana being overrated and they ain't good or whatever. We can shut that crap down immediately. And shout out to them. They're now bowl eligible. They're 6-0. And to me, I mean, they're in the top 5 now, I'm pretty sure. And they deserve it. This is a top 5 team we're looking at right here. This isn't just a contender for the playoffs. This is a contender for the title. And it's crazy that we're talking about Indiana of all teams. This is Indiana. It was just 2 short years ago that Indiana was literally the bottom of the barrel, the literal bottom of the barrel in the conference, the Big Ten. And then Kirk Cignetti comes in and then 2 short years later literally turns this program around and has turned them into a contender for the title. They are a scary team to face this year. They don't have any exploitable holes. They're a great offense and even better defense. Indiana's defense is probably the scariest part about what they have. They are a scary force. So I'm nervous about playing Indiana. I think anybody else in the country is nervous about playing Indiana. And the only shame here is that Indiana does not play Ohio State this time, because I would love nothing more than to see them fight for the reign of the Big Ten. And we might get to see that anyway. That's the thing. We might get to see that regardless, because as it stands now, both of these teams have current reign of the Big Ten. And as long as they do what they're supposed to do throughout the entire rest of the year, then guess what? These are the two teams that are going to meet in the title game. So, or in the Big Ten title game, I mean. So, yeah, no. And we're going to talk about this too. Don't you worry. Obates 2002, much appreciate the $50 super chat, man. That means a lot, brother. You're a real one for that, brother. He says, Kirby Smart, I didn't call timeout. I was just clapping. Ref, gotcha, champ. Yeah, no, that's I want to vomit after seeing what happened in that game. And I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on that. And trust me, I have plenty of thoughts. But yeah, anyway, Indiana, as we know, a really good team. Not just a really good team, but they are a dominant force. And potentially could be, and this is funny. This is funny. I made a video over the offseason that you guys know about the Big Ten, and the three kings amongst the peasants. This might be your new king right here. Because now that Penn State's dead, there needs to be a new king that rises above and becomes right there with Ohio State and Michigan for historical dominance. And maybe Indiana has that future, because the Hoosiers have just been on a roll. Maybe attribute that to Cignetti. We'll find out. There's going to be a lot of coaches fishing for Cignetti. I think everybody can agree with that. There's a good milkshake. Yeah, no. And we kind of expected this result. I expected this result here in the everyone's favorite rivalry, the rivalry, or as we call it, the Red River Shutout, because that's pretty much what this was. Not a lot of offense in this one, and it kind of had the reverse result of what many people expected, which was the Texas offense looking way better than the Oklahoma offense. Now, again, John Mateer, unfortunately, W Stream, appreciate it. Their kite. Penn State should hire Tim Banks as a head coach. Oh, no. Oh, Lord almighty. Keep it real, brother. Keep it real. They fall apart instantly. Okay, anyway. John Mateer was playing off of a broken thumb, and I think that showed in this game because it looked like everything with him was broken. Everything with him looked broken to me. I mean, they looked bad. They looked absolutely terrible. No touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Just a awful performance for Mateer. And not that we didn't expect that, considering he was playing hurt in this game, but even if you start Haskins, or Hawkins, I mean, not Haskins. Even if you start Michael Hawkins in this game, how much good would it do for you? It wouldn't. It really wouldn't do that much for you, because the Texas defense, besides a few case scenarios like the Florida game, has been lights out for the most part. Texas does have a top 5 defense in the country, I think, talent-wise, and that showed in this game because they actually played like they wanted to win something. And even Arch Manning, well, he didn't have the best game, and you can attribute that to a much more vanilla core offense because, well, they can't trust Arch Manning to sling the football, but he actually had a pretty good day. 166 yards. He was 21 of 27. Didn't throw that many incompletions. No turnovers. How about that? Absolutely no turnovers. But the Texas defense had themselves a day. 5 sacks, 7 TFLs, 3 interceptions. Literally just had themselves an absolute day. Michael Tough, an absolute beast. So while Texas probably is short of making the playoffs now, I think they're going to drop another game, maybe potentially some more down the line. They at least can know that they ruined Oklahoma's season in the process. John Mateer is the Arch Manning of Coleman Hawkins. UAB should hire James Franklin. No, I think I could see James Franklin staying in the Power 5 or Power 4. I could absolutely see that being the case. I don't know who it's going to be with. I think it's going to be with a much lower tier program. Could be Oregon State, even though they're not Power 4. But that's about as close as you can get without it actually being Power 4. Yeah, no. I will say this. The SEC is a complete mess. Missouri goes down to Alabama. Ty Simpson has looked dominant as per the usual. Bama's 5-1. They've looked really good since that Florida State beatdown. So I don't think, for me to call that a fluke would be pretty stupid. I think Florida State outplayed them. But ever since then, Kalen DeBoer and Alabama have been on a roll. It was a hard-fought game for them, but they end up coming out on top, 27-24 over undefeated Missouri. And again, I guess you can attribute that to the Alabama defense as well. Bo Pribula forced to throw 2 interceptions. Definitely not his best performance for sure. And I think, Pribula, he's looked really, really good against like doo-doo tier teams. It just so happens that when he goes up against these quality opponents that things like this happen. And, it doesn't surprise me. But Bama has been on a roll as of recently. This is their 3rd straight ranked win. They beat down Vandy last week, beat down Georgia the week before. They've been on a big-time roll. And their offense can be attributed to that. Again, Ty Simpson looked really good, 3 touchdowns, 200 yards passing, 23 of 31. The rushing game, while it wasn't the best, it was at least somewhere decent. They even had Caden Proctor. This is what I hope they keep this up throughout the rest of the season. I don't care if it's against us either. They need to do this every single game where they at least run one play with Caden Proctor because this is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. There's not, it's a one-off. For it to be a one-off thing is funny in itself, but for now, they've done this 3 times in a row. I've used Caden Proctor for a run play. So it's absolutely hilarious, and I hope they keep that up. Oh, my goodness. But I think the fact that Bama won this game can be attributed to the fact that they completely shut down Ahmad Hardy. He had 52 yards, but a run game like that ain't going to get it done. And I think Bama knew that. They shut down the run pretty well, even though Pribula had 61 yards rushing. But that's that dual threat for you. That's how they do that too. You're asking for excitement out of an SEC game, Squid, you fool. Yeah, no. Nothing but death and destruction here in the different leagues conference. I'll say that much. Speaking of which, I think we should just go ahead and talk about it. Out of all the results that happened this week, we had some big shockers. I'm going to talk about the Penn State game in a few, but one thing that I think really pissed a lot of people off, especially one specific fan base, is they have found a way to get consistently hosed week after week, and that's honestly impressive. You become the perennial victim of SEC REFBALL. Again, Auburn loses. They're now 3-3. They're 0-3 in the conference. Get taken down by Georgia at home. And it was an ugly game, an absolutely ugly game. Auburn started out strong. They, took it 10-7 at the half. They looked like their offense was running pretty well. Jackson Arnold was making clutch plays where he needed to be. And they looked to be well more prepared for the game than Georgia. But as you all know, with the Bulldogs and Kirby Mouse, he knows nothing better than to create some bullshit out of nothing. So that's exactly what he did. He created the BS out of nothing. And guess what? He came back again, wins another game in a pretty shocking fashion. And I guess the biggest talk of the town here for this game isn't even about the game itself. It's about the SEC REFBALL and about how absolutely atrocious it was. And I think Auburn fans are especially fed up with it because they had a similar situation against Oklahoma where basically the refs had to make a couple of key decisions that screwed them over, and they're pissed about it as well. So let's run through a time lapse of this, okay? So one thing is, I will say at the end of that half, Auburn's at the 1 yard line. They run a play straight up the middle. Looked like he got over the plane and scored a touchdown, but the refs ruled it, I think, a fumble, and then they overturned it and they didn't get it. And that was the half for you. And I think, looking at it from both a video perspective, a picture perspective, I've seen every single sort of camera angle you can possibly think of. That looked to me like a touchdown. And it's unfortunate that was reversed. And yeah, as we all know, refs make terrible calls every single day, but it seems to me that there was just so many bad calls that something had to be mentioned. And I think the worst one was obviously what happened during the game where Kirby Smart literally does this. Okay. Kirby Smart. All right. Here's what happened. Kirby Smart does this. Now, I don't know. To me, okay, hold on. Let's take this off the screen for a second. Does this look to me like clapping, you guys, or is this calling a timeout? Which one does that look like to you? I don't know. I don't know. Pretend I'm pretend I'm an absolute idiot. Pretend I'm a Georgia fan and know nothing out of college football outside of my own team. Pretend I know nothing. Is this a timeout or is this me clapping? You know the answer. You know the answer is it's a rhetorical question. You know, everyone knows. Everyone knows. He called a timeout right there. And yeah, they gave him the timeout. They take a timeout off of Georgia's. And then before the next play, and I saw this, there was an Auburn safety that was clapping, and Kirby runs up to him and says, he's clapping. And that I do think that's what he said. I'm trying to give Kirby Smart the biggest benefit of the doubt, because there are a lot of people saying like that he, as in himself, was clapping instead of the Auburn safety. So I'm trying to give him the biggest benefit of the doubt I possibly can. So yeah, and this doesn't excuse anything the refs did, because, well, he says the Auburn safety was clapping. And, that should have been a penalty, because, that's obviously an infraction right there. Should have been a penalty. But instead what happens was, for whatever reason, the refs decide they're going to give Georgia back the timeout for no reason, for absolutely no reason. And the moment that happened, everybody lost their minds. Hugh Freeze absolutely went ballistic, and I can't blame him, because there's absolutely no reason that you give them that timeout. It literally makes absolutely no damn sense. Absolutely no sense at all. That was one of the dumbest things I have ever seen in my life. Literally one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in my life. But you know what was also dumb? And I don't condone this behavior. I condemn it. But it's dumb to me that the moment that happened, Auburn fans didn't pelt the field with bottles and whatever else they could, because Texas did it. Last year, Texas did it. They pelted the field with a bunch of bottles and crap. And then those freaking pansy-ass SEC refs decide, oh, this is scary for me. So you know what? We're going to overturn the call. Something tells me if that happened, they might have just taken the timeout back. But nope, that's not what happened. It was a very, very, very weird thing that was going on there. I think the SEC refs just had a terrible day. And it's not even just this game. It was a lot of the games. I saw it too with Arkansas and Tennessee. I mean, literally, there were several plays where Arkansas was literally lined up beyond the line of scrimmage on defense, and they just never saw it. They never called offsides or anything like that. There were clear and obvious holds that they missed on both sides of the football. The SEC refs, of all the officials in the country, they might be the dumbest ones. And it's kind of weird to me how the different leagues conference that prioritizes football over anything else is the one with the dumbest, most incompetent officials. That's just me. So no, I'm not going to put on the tinfoil cool and good hat. I'm not going to tell you that, that there's a hidden agenda or bias against Auburn, because there isn't. Auburn just sucks. They do. I'm sorry to tell you, Auburn just isn't good. Because let me tell you, good teams, find ways to win games, and sometimes do so even when the refs screw them over. Great teams always find ways to win despite the refs screwing them over. And Auburn is not a great team. I'd go as far to say that they're not even that good of a team. They're not. And they've got a great defense. And when their offense is on, they can do something. I mean, Auburn's got a pretty good defense, but the problem is their offense is terrible. Can't get anything going. Jackson all look absolutely terrible. And let me tell you something. In any game where you have a full half and you only put up, 25 yards of offense, 35 or 25, I'm not really all that sure, but 35 yards of offense, any game you put up that amount of yards, yeah, you're probably going to lose. And you can't blame REFBALL for that. You can't blame REFBALL for only being able to put up 35 yards of total offense in the second half. That's not on the refs. That's on you. That's on you for doing that. So I sympathize with Auburn fans, because I know what it feels like to get screwed by REFBALL. But if you want to win these games, don't put it into the hands of the officials. Don't let this game get out of control like you did. Don't put up 35 total yards of offense in one half. I don't know what to tell you. Holcatron66, appreciate the 2, buddy, says you should have seen the ref ball during Ole Miss. It was terrible all across the conference. It was bad. I mean, it was absolutely terrible all across the conference. But that's not that doesn't excuse the fact that Auburn only put up that amount of yards of offense in the second half. It doesn't. You find ways to win despite the ref ball. And you don't let it get into that situation. So that's all there is to tell you. Sound FXO and I appreciate the 10, buddy, says refs were ass in this game, no denying it, but Georgia had the worst first half I've seen, yet gutted their way to victory. Auburn sucks. Georgia has guts. Bring on Ole Miss. Much love, Lord of Tart area. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, no, and that's the thing. Auburn ain't good. Auburn had their chance. And this is the thing about Georgia. If you're going to beat them, you got to beat them quick. You got to demoralize them. You got to knock them out of the competition early. And they didn't do that. They let them come back. They let them roll their way back to the win. That's not on the refs. I don't know what to tell you. That doesn't excuse the fact that REFBALL had a terrible day. That doesn't excuse the fact that they hosed the absolute hell out of Auburn multiple times, which is true. They hosed them multiple times. It was an absolutely terrible day for REFBALL. And I'm going to say this. Kirby did himself no favors here. Kirby Mouse did himself absolutely no favors, because I saw the press conference where basically he comes out and, they, of course, they immediately ask him about the timeout fiasco. They're like, you took a timeout there and then they gave you back the timeout, even though that's not how it should have happened. What the hell happened there? And then he says, I didn't call a timeout. What? Yeah, you did. What, buddy, brother? We all saw the footage. We got cameras. Everything you did was there on film. You can't deny that. How dumb do you have to be? This is, you know what that's like? Literally, and this is going to be one of my stupid VTuber comparisons, but hear me out here. It's like when a VTuber or just let's broaden the horizons a bit. This is like if any YouTuber comes on. It would be like if I did something really heinous one day that was on film. Like this is just a, hypothetical scenario. Like push an old lady down the stairs and it's on film. You see a security camera of me pushing someone's grandma down the stairs. And then when somebody presses me about it, I sit there and go, no, I didn't. I didn't do that. That's not me. That's my evil twin. No, it's on film, you dummy. The whole thing is there. What in the world are you talking about? An absolute idiot. And they laid that up perfectly for you. All you had to say was, I don't understand why the refs did that, but we'll take it. Go Dogs. That's literally all you had to do. That was the most basic coach speak setup you possibly could have thought of, but instead you deny all responsibility, even though it's all on film. What are you talking about? We caught you in 4K. I mean, are you serious? Mind blowing. There's 145 people in here. I mean, most of y'all saw the footage. I'm willing to bet that pretty much 140 of you saw it. The dude called the timeout, and then he gets on a press conference and says that he didn't. What in the world are you saying? Absolutely. I mean, that you got to be phone brain to do that, or you just have literally absolutely no morals. Which one of which? Which one is it? I don't know. I don't know which one it is. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I don't know which one it is. We were talking about the same program, that basically lets all these players get DUIs and drive triple over the speed limit with reckless driving, and then it's completely fine by me. I don't care. God, Georgia. Golly, did I ever tell you guys I hate Georgia? And the worst part is that they're the one team we can't beat. SMH shaking my head, man. It makes me make me vomit. Anyway, let's talk about this absolute disgrace to humanity right here. Guess what, y'all? Penn State lost again. This is the thing that, this is obviously the game that killed off James Franklin. We don't need to discuss it much further other than the facts that we already know. Penn State's dead. You know, that all their expectations have been immediately dashed following this result. They're not making the playoffs. They're not doing anything outside of maybe the Pop-Tart Bowl is too good for them. They might appear in like the what is it, the GoDaddy.com Bowl or whatever the hell. They might appear in the toilet bowl if they go down the route they're going. I'll say that much. Especially now that they no longer have Drew Aller to depend on. And Penn State's just an absolute mess right now. They've got nothing going for. They've got nothing going for them right now. I mean, when you get outplayed on offense by Preston Stone, pretty much every expectation and hope of life has been just completely dashed from you. They've got no wide receivers they can rely on. Kyron Hudson, probably one of the most disappointing transfer pickups I've ever seen. This dude was pretty good at USC. Comes on down to Penn State and can't get more than one reception a game. Keytron Allen and Nick Singleton, while they tried their hardest to do something, it was obviously never nearly enough. I mean, but last year, like both of these guys have put up 100 yards rushing. So I can't figure out for the life of me what it is. Is it a line problem? Is it the fact that Drew Aller still can't throw a completion? Did they shift their game plan completely? I can't figure it out for the life of me how Penn State's offense and pretty much their entire existence has decreased by this much. And the defense is, of course, obviously the worst concern I have for Penn State, because they came in as a top 5 defense this year, and they look like nothing more than a complete and utter joke. Because look at what Nico did to him last week. Look at what Preston Stone did to him this week. It's bad. It's bad. Very bad. So horrendous, in fact, that it almost makes me vomit. Almost. Only because now I'm going to get a bunch of comments on that Big Ten video and the 3 kings of college football and all their peasants. Penn State Penn State Nittany Lions. They are the king of college football. Look at how bad they are. It's the Oregon Ducks. The Oregon Ducks are good. I get to hear that for however remaining long the channel exists for. So thank you for that. Thank you, Penn State. I put my hope into you for one season, and what do you do with it? You do that. Thanks. Appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Did I ever tell you that? You guys are awesome. I will say, though, thank you for giving me the quality entertainment I feel like I deserve. They're bad. Penn State is bad. They're a bad program right now. Not even just a bad team. They are a bad program. All right, then. Well, it's already 8:55, so I guess we'll just go ahead and do our weekly shout-outs and then move on to week 8. And I guess I'll start out by saying shout out to Washington. They won Friday night. They're 5-1 now. Damon Williams had a really good game. Damon Williams basically beat Rutgers by himself, had over 500 yards of offense, 100-something. He had 100-something rushing, 400 passing. Dude lit it up. So, yeah, shout out to Damon Williams for putting the absolute whooping on the Scarlet Knights and handing them the 3rd loss. Shout out to the Buckeyes of Ohio State. They're undefeated, 6-0. To me, right now, if it weren't for Indiana, and if Indiana wasn't a thing, Ohio State would be everyone's clear front runner for the championship right now. They look like the best team, and they're going to hold on to that title for as long as they can hold on to it, up until they eventually lose to Michigan. But they can hold on to it for as long as it's worth. And if Red's listening, I'm sorry, but we all know what's going to happen, buddy. But this is a great year for you. And an even better year now that Penn State's basically in the water. There's yourself a free win for you. So, yeah, shout out to Ohio State. Shout out to Wazoo. Not because they won, because, well, they don't win often, but they put up a hell of a fight against a top 5 team on the road. Ole Miss, 24-21 was the final score of that game. Trinidad Chambliss, not one of his better performances. Ole Miss still holds on to become undefeated, but Wazoo really gave him a scare ahead of that game in Athens. Yeah, Ole Miss is going to Athens, Georgia. Hopefully that doesn't turn to the REFBALL. Shout out to A&M. A&M bowl eligible now officially. They're 6-0. I want to keep that in mind. Texas A&M is now 6-0. I think they might go beyond. I think I don't know. Pending an absolute absolute destruction, pending they absolutely fall off a cliff and die, Texas A&M looks to me like they know a thing or two. They might get beyond the 8-4 threshold. They might. If Minnesota can get past the 7-5 threshold, A&M can get past theirs. So who knows? Shout out to the Red Raiders of Texas Tech. They're another team that has now hit bowl eligibility. They're 6-0, absolutely obliterated Kansas 42-17. To me, I think we all know clear well that Texas Tech is the clear front runner of the Big 12. No doubt, no denying that. Everybody can agree with that. There's really no room for debate with that one. Their defense is just, again, I've said this for several weeks now, but the fact that Texas Tech, all they ever needed was a defense, and now they've got it. They're scary. They're a problem. Watch out for them. The Big 12 is now in their grasp as long as they don't, completely fall off a cliff. Shout out to LSU. More specifically, shout out to LSU's defensive line. Once again, their offense is completely lackluster. A&M was all over them. Dylan Stewart basically tortured Garrett Nussmeier throughout the entire game. But since South Carolina has an offense, well, I take that back. Since South Carolina has no offense, an optional offense, basically a stoppable force for an offense, LSU took care of business, wins 20-10 at home. They move on to 5-1 ahead of that very scary game against Vandy. And that is a very scary game. And we're going to get into that in just a minute because there is something very shocking I found out that I'm going to tell you guys all about too. Josef Stalin, appreciate the $2 super chat, says, can A&M at the very, very least win an SEC chip? Don't count your chickens before they hatch, buddy. You guys haven't even, you're not in there yet. You're not in there yet. You've got a long ways to go. You still got 6 more games, 6 more chances to piss it away. So be careful. Along with Texas Tech and many others, we have to give a congratulations and a shout out to Georgia Tech. Yes. Georgia is not bowl eligible yet, but Georgia Tech is 6-0, beat down of Virginia Tech. Haynes King had himself another great day. Sort of per the usual for Georgia Tech. Wasn't necessarily a dominant win. Their defense didn't do all that much, but Tech took care of business, got the W. They're 6-0. And as long as they continue to do what they're doing, they have the ACC in their grasp. So we'll see how it goes. Shout out to Southern Cal. Really, shout out to USC because they beat Michigan. And not only that, but they actually have a defensive pulse again. Or maybe it's just the fact that Michigan doesn't have an offense again. Shocker there. Michigan, once again, no offense. I guess the biggest shock for me here was the fact that Michigan's defense had as bad of a day as it did. But yeah, no, USC gets the W there. And I don't really know because I know here's the thing. I know Justice Haynes got hurt in this game. I don't know how big the injury is. He might be back next week. I think I've heard that it's not a serious injury, but if he's out for like a remainder of time, it's going to be bad. It's going to be really bad. Really, really bad. Along with them, though, along with Georgia Tech and several others, BYU is also undefeated at 6-0. Came out in overtime late at night against Arizona. They are 6-0 now after that second overtime win against the Wildcats. And a really, really fun game to watch. Noah Fafita gave it his all in that game. And Arizona has definitely showed that they are a more improved team. But the Cougars got guts. The Bear got some muscle on them. And they came out on top in that one. Notre Dame also came out on top, 36-7 over NC State. CJ Carr, kind of a on and off type of things. Watching CJ Carr is basically like a roller coaster. It's all up and down basically everywhere. But Notre Dame took care of business. They move on to 4-2. Iowa State, unfortunately, falls apart. Shout out to Colorado for the win over them. They're 24-17. Iowa State is basically falling apart. We sort of expected this. They've been playing with fire pretty much the entirety of the first part of the season. Start out 5-0, but they did it in such a way that had me thinking that they were going to drop a couple of games, and now they've dropped 2 in a row. So, no, not surprised. Richard Howenstein, appreciate the 5, says, what games on Indiana's remaining schedule would scare you the most? Hell if I know. Who do they even play? That's the thing about Indiana's schedule. They literally, I've taken a look at it. They don't play Jack Diddley Doodah squat. They don't. They play a bunch of terrible teams, and then that's that. Oh my goodness. I can't believe I'm having to do this again. Shout out to Nico and UCLA. They did it again, ladies and gentlemen, after that big win over Penn State. Guess what they do? They go on the road into Spartan Stadium and beat the ever-living hell out of Michigan State. It wasn't even a close competition. The femboy went in there and put up an offensive night that UCLA will probably never forget. Nico had a great game. He was 16 of 24, 180 yards, 3 touchdowns. Can't say much more than that. UCLA, he's the – I don't know. They might have found the truth. All they ever needed was a coaching fire, and they seem to have figured it out. Houston, shout out to them. They're 5-1. Everything's still in their grasp as long as they continue to do what they need to do. I know they lost to Texas Tech, but they might get another shot as they went out. We'll see. We'll find out. Nebraska, they won, shockingly enough, against October, Maryland. It's not a shock. October, Maryland is dead, as we all know. But in all seriousness, Maryland put up a really good fight. Looked like they might have had it. But then, of course, we all know what happened. Maryland fell apart at the end. Nebraska gets the last laugh. They score 10 unanswered in the fourth quarter, get the jump over them by 3. And Dylan Mahomes had 4 touchdowns. You know, that's all there is to it. Shout out to Kansas State. And this one did shock me because I was high on TCU. Josh Hoover has looked really, really good these past few weeks, and he did in this game too. Over 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, but TCU's defense had some serious holes that Avery Johnson exploited. And, with that being said, it wasn't much of a surprise that this kind of turned out the way it did. I can't figure out what in the world has happened to Dylan Edwards, though. He didn't play in this game. I don't know what in the world is going on with him, but if Dylan Edwards, if he had a pulse at the start of the year, maybe Kansas State wouldn't be sitting in the position that they are right now. But they seem to have, at least for now, retributed their ugly, ugly start to the season. They're 3-4 right now. Chris Kleeman kind of holding on by a thread because I think if he blows too many more games, he might be in trouble. Shout out to UNLV. They made for an incredible brawl with Air Force, which was a 1-5 Air Force, by the way. Look, I don't know. I can't tell you for the life of me how UNLV is undefeated. I can't. They are. They're 6-0 right now. They're undefeated, but they play like a team that's got 1 win all time. I can't figure it out for the life of me how a team like this can be so bad at the same time win all these games. It baffles me. But that's why they've won this many games and are not ranked. Now, one thing I will say is that I'm very surprised at this point that along with all the heads that have rolled these past few weeks, Luke Fickell is not one of them, especially after what they did. First of all, shout out to Iowa and Mark Gronowski, 37-0 win over Wisconsin. A loss like that, it absolutely stuns me that Luke Fickell has not gotten the can yet. I'm very shocked by that. They have no pulse left. They've lost the entire locker room. Couldn't put up a single point of offense against Iowa. And something tells me that they're going to continue that. Something tells me this is going to continue, that their offense is not just going to, they're just going to sit there and do nothing the entire day. And that's basically what they do. They're the biggest procrastinators of all time because they come out on this big stage and they're like, okay, Wisconsin, now it's time for you to go down the field. And they just said, I think we'll do it later. That's literally what they do, except that later never comes. The later never comes. They just continue to do the same thing. So, not surprised by that outcome at all. Another name I'm surprised that's still in the coaching booth for Boston College. That's our good boy, Bill O'Brien. They're 1-5 now. Boston College is 1-5, 0-4 in the ACC. Got absolutely obliterated at home by Clemson, one of the worst Clemson teams we've seen in a while. Their offense couldn't get anything going. They're an absolute mess. I can't figure out for the life of me how Bill O'Brien still got a job. They're going to ruin this kid, Dylan Lonergan, if this continues any longer. So they need to figure out real quick whether or not Bill O'Brien's the guy or if they just need to go ahead and get rid of him. Because I don't care. I mean, you can only use the coaching. It's a young team and the coach has been there for only so long. You can only use that excuse for as long as you can. You're 1-5. You're terrible. You're a dumpster fire. Figure out what you want to do because it's about that time. All right, then, gentlemen. Well, it is time to go on ahead and go to week 8. And I'm going to go through these games as quick as I can because, well, to be honest, without Red being here to cover these games with me, it's basically just me giving my thoughts on who I think is going to win and kind of just talking to a brick wall. But yeah, Wisconsin sucks. 2-10 incoming. I predicted them to go 2-10. I did. I actually predicted them to go 2-10 because they're bad. Good Lord, they're bad. An absolute mess. That's all I can really say about that. It's October, Maryland, sad month for Maryland sports right now. Yeah, no, and it's going to stay that way. That's the thing. That's the thing. It's like a magical world of Disneyland whenever it's September and Maryland's beating all these games and everybody's like, oh, why can't we rank Maryland? Because then the moment the clock moves to the next month, guess what happens? Big fat stinky all over the place. Yeah, no. Cannot be too surprised by that outcome. All right then. Well, let's transition over here. I'm going to give my thoughts on some of these games and who I think is going to win, and then we'll call it a stream, shall we? All right. Well, let's start out with this one. ACC matchup, October 17th. It's going to be a fun, interesting brawl, I think, between Louisville, who is 4-1, came off the loss to Virginia, but has a bye week to rest. But same goes for Miami. They also did not play this week. Both of these teams had an extra week to settle in and rest. The Canes are coming in as a 13.5-point favorite. And, as much as I've liked Louisville, I like the Canes here to win this one. I don't think Miller Moss has got it. He's very turnover prone. I think we all know that too well. He is very, very turnover prone, for sure. And this is my bad because I forgot to talk about this game. But if you can read this squid, Florida State and Pitt, who sucked harder? Well, Florida State, because they lost. Florida State dadgum lost the game, so yeah, obviously they suck worse. But I think it's a little bit more than that. It's just Florida State had a lot of expectations. Then post the Virginia game, they've just been on a downhill steep. It just they're right back to the Take Knowles. That's the thing right there. Not the worst team in the ACC, but certainly not. Yeah, certainly bad. But yeah, no. On Friday night, I'm taking Miami to beat down Louisville and send them back to just complete irrelevancy because Louisville, the thing about Louisville, and this has been known, they're too bad to be, they're too bad to be seen as contenders for anything outside of the Pop-Tart Bowl, but they're too good. They're too good to be seen as like this team that you laugh at. They're just sort of in the middle. They're in eternal football purgatory is what it seems like to me. Just stuck in that endless cycle of death. Anyway, here's Nebraska and Minnesota. This is another big-time game happening Friday night. And here's the thing about this one. Minnesota, I think their offense is Minnesota's offense is far better than I would have ever expected them to be. I thought it was going to be their defense that was going to show out this year, but it seems to me that their offense is the one doing it. Drake Lindsey, it seems to be the truth. And as good as Nebraska has looked, I'll tell you what, I like Minnesota in this game. At home in a big-time environment, they've had a week to settle down and rest. It's looking to me like Minnesota can absolutely win this ball game. And it's only fitting because Nebraska has once again found themselves back in the top 25. It's only fitting that now they fall apart and, prove that, the Nebraska of which we know isn't dead. So give me Minnesota in that game. Yeah. Minnesota. One thing I can do is I can actually play the sound bites. I don't know if you guys can hear these, but here's oh, no, never mind. The soundboard's fried. It might play in a minute, just out of nowhere. If it does, then that's that. Oh, here it is. I think it's going to play it. Thank you. Very delayed. Very, very delayed. Yeah, kind of like Georgia in any big game. But anyway, North Carolina at Cal, that's another one right there. I'll just tell you right now, I've got Cal winning that game. North Carolina is an absolute mess. No reason to talk about that any further. Now, here's the thing. This is absolute cinema right here. This is absolutely hilarious to me. I want you guys to look at this and tell me if something, I'm not going to say it yet. Tell me if something appears weird to you. Does anything about what you're seeing appear a little bit odd to you? LSU versus Vandy. It's in Nashville. LSU is number 10 in the nation. Vandy is number 17. Both teams are 5-1. What seems weird to you about this? Here's your hint. And a big neon sign. Yeah, you get it. You get it. Vandy's the favorite. And that's a stunning revelation. Vandy is coming into this game as the favored team. They're a 1.5 point favorite over LSU. And I can't blame them for thinking that. Vegas knows. That's all I know. This is going to be a tough game, I think. This is going to be a very, very fun brawl to watch. But I've got the pimp. I've got the Commodores winning against LSU at home. Because here's the thing. LSU's got some serious problems on offense. And if you're going to beat this Vandy team, you're going to have to go blow for blow with them. You're going to have to force some mistakes. And I think while LSU has the potential to do that with their defense, it's not going to be enough, I think, because their offense is such a mess and needs turnovers to basically score. So give me the Commodores over the Tigers. Halotron says frenzy time inbound. Yeah, that's the new thing. I play the frenzy time sound effect every time, anytime chaos overtime is a thing. There's some of these other games. Georgia Tech versus Duke. Georgia Tech going on the road to face them. Now, here's another thing, because I pointed out to you guys, Vandy was favored. Georgia Tech is coming in as an underdog here on the road as well, even though they look like the way better team on paper. But Duke is a 1.5 point favorite against Georgia Tech. Manny Diaz has given a lot of hell to Georgia Tech over the years, and I could absolutely see the Yellow Jackets falling short in this one. But I like Georgia Tech. I like what they've done so far. I think Haynes King is going to be too much. And while I do think Darian Mensah is going to exploit some of those defensive holes on Tech's defense, I think Georgia Tech has shown already that they are a clutch team. And they've been in the position multiple times where they've been in very, very close ball games, and yet they've always found a way to fall out on top. I'm going to go ahead and say that Tech does it again here. I think this will be a really close game, but I've got Georgia Tech in a close one to go to 7-0. What a stunning revelation that is. Dadgum 7-0. Are we serious right now? Dadgum 7-0, Georgia Tech. What are we doing here? That's what I ask myself all the time. I ask myself that question regardless, no matter if it's in football context or not. What am I doing here? What am I doing anywhere? All right. Next up, we got Oklahoma versus South Carolina. And I heard this narrative about South Carolina from specifically our boy, Shane Beamer. It's me, Shane Beamer. This is what Shane Beamer had to say when some people in the press conference are bringing up how South Carolina has basically undergone some lower expectations than, what they were hoping for. And Shane Beamer's response to that was, we were 3-3 last year, and Oklahoma, we went into Oklahoma and beat them, and then the rest was history. And now they come to Williams-Brice while we're also 3-3. Basically, what he's saying there is that the season is far from over and that they can win out from here onward. Brother, you don't get it. You're a different team. They're a different team. The rest of the teams that you play on your schedule are also different teams. And not only that, but you look like a fundamentally worse team than you did last year. The offensive line looks just as bad as it did before. Lenora Sellers is having a really hard time doing much of anything other than running out of the pocket every 2 seconds. That's what your offense has devolved into. So I disagree with you, Shane. I've got the Sooners here. Boomer Doomer. Give me the Sooners to beat South Carolina, and I guess have some sort of retribution to the Texas loss. That was a pretty stinky loss that they had. Here's your biggest game of the week right here. This is why, obviously this is where game day is going. Ole Miss and Georgia, top 10 matchup here in Athens, Georgia. The Dogs are 5-1, already fell short against Alabama, and now Ole Miss comes to town, which, as you would expect, is another big game for the Dogs. And they've got a lot of things to prove. They're coming in as a favorite here, just as they did against Alabama. But Georgia has some serious problems that they need to answer. You know what? Hold on. Give me a second? Excuse me. All right. Look here. Georgia's winning this game. And not only are they winning this game, but they might win it by 100. They're the best team of all time. They are. We just have to accept it as reality. Georgia is the best team of all time. If I were Lane Kiffin and if I were Trinidad Chambers, if I were this team, I wouldn't even bother showing up. I would like, don't even bother. Don't even bother showing up. You're out of your own league. Literally. Hey, Kiffin, this is, yeah.
Might as well be in different leagues, not conferences, different leagues.
It's a different league. Literally, it's a different league. You're in a different league. You're not prepared for the dogs. They're gonna roll all over you. Georgia's winning every single game from this point onward. That's just the way it is. And that's not me telling you. That's the thing. This is not my opinion. I don't like. This isn't just me. Oh, I don't think Georgia is going to win every single game. This is a proven fact. Georgia will win every single game from this point onward, starting with you. Starting with you, they're going to beat you so bad you have no idea what's going to be coming. Nothing. Not a thing. Not a thing. You're cooked. You're going to be bamboozled. Georgia might have 1,000 yards of offense by the end of the first 5 minutes. Yeah, best of luck. You're cooked. You're cooked. You're done. Dunzo. Dead. It's over for you. Anyway, on to the next one, shall we? We're running late. We're running really low on time here. So I'll just go ahead and get to, I guess, some of the other ones that people are very, very high about. And I might as well go ahead and talk about this game. With Red not being here, I've seen no reason to wait on this one. I'll just go ahead and jump on it. Third Saturday in October, Tennessee and Alabama. The Vols are number 11th. They're going on the road into Tuscaloosa to face off against Alabama. It's been over 20 years since the last time Tennessee went down to Tuscaloosa and knocked off the Crimson Tide. And the way things look, there's no telling how this game's going to go. Both teams, especially Tennessee, has got some very exploitable holes, specifically on their defense. That has been shown time and time again against Mississippi State and Arkansas. Alabama has some holes on their end as well. If Ty Simpson has another day where, he's not prepared or he starts throwing interceptions because that's the thing about Tennessee's defense. They can either force a bunch of mistakes or they are the mistake. It's one of the two. They're literally either going to force a turnover or they're going to let the other team score. That's literally all there is to it. And Alabama's an 8.5-point favorite here. It's going to be a tough game. This is a tough game to predict because the rivalry aspect is true here. The Tennessee defense might come out in this game and they might play lights out, force a bunch of turnovers. Tennessee's offense could go off because one thing I'll give Tennessee credit for is that they've shown, or at least Heupel has shown until he's up by 2 scores, that he's not afraid to sling the football and give the other team hell where it's worth. And it all depends on how Bama's secondary does. And I think there are some exploitable holes there. So Tennessee is going to score. But I don't think it's going to be enough. I did this with Georgia and I ended up regretting it. Where I actually picked Georgia. I picked Tennessee to beat Georgia. And then we lost, so I'm not going to do it this time. I'm going to give you guys my honest pick, especially since this is a night game. Josh Heupel has shown his track record at night is terrible, plus this is a rival on the road and probably what looks to be a better team right now. Alabama looks to me like they, other than Texas A&M, have got a complete grasp on the conference. So I got to take Alabama here. I think they beat down Tennessee. I think it'll be a close game. I think Tennessee is going to keep up with them throughout most of it, but eventually by the end of it, I think, Alabama is their offense is going to get red hot. They're going to go up a couple of scores. And then from that point onward, it could get ugly, but I've got Bama here over Tennessee. I hope we get the dub on them. Obviously you guys know that, and I do know there's no Fowler and Herb Street for this game, but I don't, if we come out and beat them, then maybe I can just attribute every single loss to that. But I really do not see it going down that way. I love if it did, though. I'd have a big old smile on my face if that's how it went down, but I'm not predicting it. That's going to be my first night stream. That's going to be weird. I got to stream that game at night. Anyway, here's another rivalry battle. USC and Notre Dame. This is going to be a tough one too, because I like both of these teams. I think their offenses have had on and off moments. And this could be like one of these games to where it's literally like a shutout in the first half. Like literally it's like 3-3 or something like that, 7-3, maybe 0-0 at half. And then in the second quarter, the second half, everything just blows up and both offenses just start going off on each other and it turns into a shootout. I could literally see that being the case. I'm not really sure who to pick with this one. Notre Dame's a 9.5-point favorite. So just for the simplicity of my sanity, I'm going to go ahead and take Notre Dame here. I like them in this battle. I trust CJ Carr enough to have some good stats, to put up some good numbers on that USC defense because, well, we all know it's Lincoln Riley. So there's that we're going off of. So nothing much else left to say there on that one. And then, of course, we've got to go over what I should have thought, because I'm like a lot of you guys. I love a good section of game day where they're focusing on the rivalries and all of that. So I wish they went to this one, but unfortunately they did not. The Holy War, big time rivalry, and not only that, but it is a ranked brawl. Number 23 Utah, number 15 BYU. There's a lot of stakes on this one. Even last year when BYU was undefeated and, they looked like to be one of the best teams in the country, Utah gave them a hell of a brawl. So I'm expecting a pretty much near identical scenario here. Both teams have their ups and downs. I'm expecting a lot more scoring here because I like both quarterbacks, Devon Dippier and Bear Bachmeier. I think they're going to expose flaws on both sides of the defense. It's going to be spectacular. I think it's going to be a very fun one to watch. And oh boy, I'm very conflicted on this because I like Utah in this battle. I do, but BYU is undefeated for a reason. As tough as it is to say, I'm going to go with the road team here. I'm going to take the Utes over BYU. I think they're going to do enough to get revenge for what happened last year, because let's be real, there is a lot of, there's adversity on BYU's side too, but there is some pent up rage on the Utah side for what happened last season. They got screwed by REFBALL, and then which turned into the AD going off and all that. And I think that's definitely on their minds. And I think the chances are they're probably playing that game all across campus heading into this battle. So the rage is going to be there. I think the crowd is going to travel really well. So I think it's going to be a fun one. I think it's going to be a fun brawl, but I think in the end, maybe even in chaos overtime, Utah is going to get the jump on BYU and give them their first loss of the year. Because let's be real. Come on. Can we all be real here for a second? Do any of you really expect BYU to finish out the season undefeated? I don't think so. Tell me, is this a college tank bowl right here? Because Florida State, I'm not going to put it on the screen since you don't need to see it. This is so bad that I shouldn't have to torture your eyes with it. But Florida State and Stanford, is that a tank bowl? Is that or a toilet bowl to you guys? Florida State is 500. They're 3-3, but they're 0-3 in the ACC. Stanford 2-4. They're obviously not any good, no doubt about that. Florida State. Think about it. Florida State, with as bad as they've performed, they're 17.5-point favorites over Stanford. So to me, I don't think that's a tank. I don't think that's a toilet bowl. I think Florida State is better than that. As bad as they've fallen off over these past 3 weeks, I think they're still better than that. Yeah. There are a couple of other games I'll talk about here real quick before we wrap things up. Pittsburgh and Syracuse, Pitt going on the road into Q's as 10.5-point favorites. I think ever since the Jelly Bean got hurt, Syracuse has just looked like a completely different team. So I'm taking Pitt on the win there. Missouri and Auburn. Missouri is a 1.5-point favorite against Auburn on the road. To me, I think this is the final parting gift for Hugh Freeze, because I think this will be a close game too. I think Pribula is going to do enough on the road to beat Auburn in Jordan-Hare, and I think this is probably the game that's going to send Hugh Freeze on his way. Yeah, no. So give me the zoo in that one. Maryland and UCLA. UCLA they're already favorites in this one. And considering Maryland is in the month of October and how good UCLA has looked, all the momentum is on the Bruins side. I'm taking UCLA. I think Nico gets another one. Whoop-de-frickin-do. Texas at Kentucky. Expect maybe 7 points scored the total in this game. But I am taking Texas to win. I don't know if they'll cover. I don't think they'll score enough to cover. The final score literally might be 12-0 because the spread is 12.5. Give me Texas to win 12-0. Oregon and Rutgers. Oregon traveling on the road into Rutgers. I'll tell you what, in the offseason, I actually picked this one to be the upset, one of the biggest upsets of the year. I predicted Rutgers to knock off Oregon at home, but the way that both teams have looked, it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. Athan Krakatoa has looked pretty decent. I think he's going to put up numbers in this game, but I think Dante Moore is going to do more than enough. I think Oregon's overall talent level is just going to be too much for Rutgers to handle, even with the home field advantage. So give me the Duckies. SMU and Clemson, the ACC championship rematch on the ACC network, fitting enough. 4-2 SMU traveling into 3-3 Clemson. So Clemson's doing this thing again where they're trying to get their swagger back. I think they're going to win. I don't know how much. I don't know if they'll win in a dominating fashion, but they are going to win. Texas A&M and Arkansas. A&M traveling into Fayetteville. Arkansas has already proven that they've still got a pulse even after what happened. They still have some sort of life and pulse, even though they're dead. You can probably attribute that to Bobby P and the motorcycle, because apparently he's riding again for whatever reason. But yeah, A&M is 7.5-point favorites. I'm going to take them in a close one. I think Arkansas gives them all they want to and more, but I've got the Aggies holding out to survive. Ohio State versus Wisconsin. Washington versus Michigan. This is going to be a good one, I think. I like the Huskies here, only because Damon Williams, as I think somebody said it earlier, yeah, Belcatez, Damon Williams is him. I like Washington. They other than the Ohio State game, which, well, what offense has looked good against, what offense has looked good against Ohio State? None. There's not a single offense yet that's looked good against Ohio State. So other than that game, Damon Williams has really gone off. The offense looks really, really well oiled out. And to me, Michigan's offense is sort of just this up and down type of thing. I think if Justice Haynes is not playing in this one, I think it's going to be a really, really tough time for the Wolverines, and it could get ugly early on. So I'm taking Washington to go on the road into the Big House, but I think it's going to be a close game. I do like Michigan to at least cover the spread. It's like, I think we're looking at like a 3-point game here. Like, I think Washington could win off of a game-winning field goal because Michigan has a tendency of keeping it close with a lot of teams that they play. I think that would kind of be the same thing here against the Huskies here at noon. But I've got Washington winning this ball game. And, well, that's your week. There are a lot more games, but, like, most of them I'm going to talk about on Chaos anyway, hopefully with the exception of UConn versus freaking trash-ass Boston College. This is probably the last week of the Bill O'Brien era because I think UConn beats Boston College, turns them into 1-6. I think this will be the last week that we see Bill O'Brien coaching. Now, if they win this game, then there you go. That he'll hold out for a little while longer, but that's not what I think is going to happen. Yeah. So that's all I got for you guys. Appreciate all of y'all for being on here tonight. I know, Red's not been on here. And, if you were missing out on it, I think he made a post about it. He was sick, couldn't join the show. So I greatly appreciate him for letting me do this on his channel. And, you guys, I'm not even going to promote my stuff because that's not important. Who cares about my stuff? You guys make sure to support Red because he's going through a very hard time right now with the sickness. I hope everything is going well for you, buddy. Recover well. Do it. Make sure you do that. It would go a very, very long way in the future of your career here on the YouTube. Ohio State needs you. Ohio State needs you to get up on your ass every single day and cheer on the Buckeyes because somebody needs to be there to comfort them when they lose to Michigan again. You're never going to make me stop doing it. I'm always going to take the low-hanging fruit. You're never going to make me stop. I will never stop doing it. But yeah, no, in all seriousness, guys, make sure you please support Red. Be there for him. Go subscribe to him if you have not already. And that's all I got for you guys. Remember, a couple of things to remember. The only constant in college football, as we all know, is chaos. There will always be chaos. There's going to be chaos this week. There'll be chaos throughout the remainder of the season. There's always going to be chaos. Remember, always trust your neighbor. I don't know why I said that, but just make sure you do. Make sure you do. Always be kind to people. Show kindness where it's worth, even if they're a fan base that you hate. So that's all there is to it, guys. Appreciate all of y'all for being on here tonight. We'll see you guys next week at the same time for covering week 8 and then whatever we need to cover for week 9. I'm sure some more heads will roll next week. So we'll see you guys next week. And as always, power to Tardaria. And Red still is not a slogan, or at least not one I know. So until then, we'll see you guys next week.